Hello again. Now I get quite a few questions about what gear I use, whether it's guitars, amps, effects and so on. And what I thought I'd do in this video is give you a talk-through of my pedal board. Now about 9 months ago I went back to using an all stomp box kind of setup, and this is what my pedal board currently looks like. Okay, so the signal comes from the guitar, and first port of call is the TC Electronics Polytune 2. I've done a more in-depth review of this, and I'll put a link to it in the information section down below. Basically this is a polyphonic tuner, really nice piece of kit, probably essential. I think anybody who's got a pedal board have a tuner on there so you can check that your guitar's in tune basically. Signal goes from the Polytune 2 round and into a Jim Dunlop original Crybaby. Basically it's a very traditional wah pedal. And from the wah pedal the signal goes into a Blackstar LT boost, which I use mainly just to give a bit more dirt, a bit more drive on the dirty channel. The signal then goes into the input on the amp. On the pedal board as well I've got the foot switch for switching between the clean and dirty channels on the amplifier. Signal comes out of the preamp section of the amp on the effects loop send and comes into the Boss CH1 Super Chorus. This is a fairly traditional chorus pedal. Signal then goes into a Electro Harmonics No. 1 Echo. This is basically a digital delay pedal. It's got a slightly analog delay sort of sound to it. It does the job quite well for me. It was something that was recommended to me by a friend, and while I like it, I've never really bonded with it, and to be honest I'm not too sure how much longer that's going to be on the board. I think it's probably the one pedal on the board that's a candidate maybe for being replaced with something else. And the last pedal before the signal goes back to the amp is the BBE Sonic Stomp. This is another pedal that I've done a more detailed review of, so I'll put a link to that in the information section below. Okay, so that's the basic effects chain. In terms of the order of the pedals, fairly traditional with the approach that I have there. The tune is the first thing in the chain, because basically you want as clean a signal as possible from the guitar into that, and then using like filters, drive and so on in front of the amp, and then in the effects loop using the modulation and delay type pedals. So that's a basic setup of the pedal board. Just a couple of other things to point out. The power to all of these pedals comes from a daisy chain cable. This is something I've talked about in another video, so again, link below. But basically the pedal board power supply comes in with a single connector to a mains adapter, then goes down a cable which powers all of the pedals in turn. There's a few spare connectors on the daisy chain which don't get used. They're just wrapped up with tape to stop the metal on the connector from touching against anything and shorting out or making any nasty pops and crackles. In terms of how the pedals get used, I'm not really a player so much where I use effects within my playing. I just kind of use the pedals just to basically give me a sound, and I just kind of run with that. So the two pedals here, which are like pretty much an essential part of my sound, as well as the reverb on the amp, because I always have the reverb turned up on the amp, is I always have the Sonic Stomp turned on. I think just lifts the sound a little bit, just makes it a little bit more alive, and invariably I'll have the digital delay switched on as well, just to fill out the sound a bit more and complement the reverb. Just as a starting point then, this is the clean channel on the amp with just a little touch of reverb and no effects. So what we've got here is basically, this is my standard sort of clean sound. And one pedal which I'll sometimes use in conjunction with the the clean sound is the Boss Super Chorus. Going over to the dirty channel on the amp, so my typical dirty sound would be this, just the dirty channel on the amp with the sonic stomp and the digital delay. And when I want a little bit more dirt on the sound, I'll kick in the Blackstar LT Boost. Okay, so that's a run through my pedal board as it currently stands. Those effects, there's loads of different settings that you could put on them to get different sounds. But as it is there, that's the settings that I've got for my basic sounds. Hope you found that interesting. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in another video soon. Bye for now.